Against the light-colored background, the letters ACB. Below each letter is its corresponding braille cell. Together for a bright future. Meet ACB board member Terry Pacheco with ACB president Dan Spoon. Dan is a white, middle-aged, and clean-shaven man, balding and with white hair at his temples. He wears a red sports shirt.
I'd like to welcome Terry Pacheco, who was elected to the ACB Board of Directors in 2022. Terry is from Silver Spring, Maryland. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you very much, Dan. It's great to be here with you this afternoon.
Oh, I'm so glad to get a chance to spend some time chatting with you. This is going to be fun. So tell me, Terry, a little bit about your vision loss journey and kind of growing up with vision loss and, how you adapted to that and how it kind of made you the wonderful woman that you are.
Terry is shown from her shoulders up. She wears her white hair short with a wave of hair at her forehead. Her haircut reaches to just below her cheeks.
Well, thank you. I guess what I can start with is that, at least according to the professionals, I never had a vision loss because I didn't have it to begin with. Until I was at least a year and a half, they insisted that I had no vision. And then as a baby, they decided, oh, maybe she does. And by the time I was 5, they said, oh, she's just 2200. So I'm not sure whether I had a vision loss or a vision gain through those years. It seems that it took them a long time to figure an awful lot out about my vision. But it worked out very well for me, obviously. I attended a class for all of us in the class were about the same vision level. And through the years, we had probably 30 of us that went through that class, and we're a tremendous number that I've at least been able to keep in contact with through the years have done very well. We had 2 college professors, an engineer, a psychologist, 3 very successful Randolph Shepherd vendors, a hospital orderly. Back in those days, we didn't look at the difficulty of getting a job. We looked at why wouldn't one get a job, and so people did. We had a much, much lower unemployment rate. It may not have always been at as great a level as it could be, but it was the way we did things back then. I have had, I have had fairly stable vision up until the last couple of years, when I'm afraid my age is starting to catch up with me a little bit on my vision. But so I've lost a little bit of it, as most everyone does as they age.
So Terry, here you are, you run for the board of directors in 2022. What prompted you to make that move and run for the ACB board?
Well, a lot of things did. I know, as many of you know, I worked for ACB as the Membership and Affiliate Services Coordinator and the Director of Development for just about 6 years, back at the beginning of the millennium, shall we say. And so I had gotten to know a tremendous number of people and had a great, great experience through most of those years with our affiliates. Somewhere I think I used to collect a magnet from every state that I went to, working with our affiliates. And I started getting a lot of calls. Quite honestly, I started getting a lot of calls from people and emails today from people who were beginning to feel very disenfranchised, that it wasn't the organization that it used to be, and we're not using our members as advocates nearly as much as we used to, those kinds of things, especially the older people who had been, like myself, visually impaired for most of their lives were feeling just kind of left out. And I knew that that wasn't right. And so that was really one of the things that was most important to me, was to reunite people as much as possible. And at the same time, bring the new people in, bring in and collaborate as well with the younger people. This really is an organization for everyone, regardless of age or visual acuity or visual history.
So here we are, it's 2022. What do you see as our biggest challenges and opportunities over the next 5 years?
I think one of our greatest opportunities is to work more closely with both our state and special interest affiliates, with their members that are both self-advocates and organizational advocates. I think that our advocacy we have such a great wealth of people who have so much experience in advocacy on a multitude of topics. I think that one of our challenges for the next, I'm working on right now, as immediately as possible. It's going to take us years, but one of our really big things is health and wellness and medical issues. Something a little different in that we're talking things like medical equipment that's accessible, portals. Every single person in this country, whether you're blind or sighted, is dealing with portals now to get any of your medical information. And a lot of those are still inaccessible. And that's something that's really important. And I think the other challenge, the other thing that I would very much like to see us work on is strengthening our affiliates. Our affiliates are the backbone of this organization, and they need as much support and as much encouragement as we can possibly give them. And that means to a crossing between, Alliance, just as an example, Alliance on Aging and Vision Loss and Next Generation. Because as I said before, we are all one group, and we need to be able to cross those lines between each group.
I could not agree.
I think we need to do an awful lot of work on that as well.
I couldn't agree with you more. So tell us, Terry, you and Frank, what do you guys do for fun?
Well, on Friday nights, I do Visibilities, which is visually impaired seniors have abilities. That was kind of the whole idea of my putting Visibilities together. That's on Media One and on Zoom every Friday. And then at the end of that, that's kind of my indication that my busy week is over, or at least it is for that night anyhow. And so we tend to do music night, and we'll put on something that we've enjoyed in years gone by, or maybe it's something more recent. But we'll do music night on Friday nights. Often that spills over onto Saturday night. Both of them always spill into Saturday and Sunday morning. And the other thing that I do that I've always had a very strong interest in is my Irish culture, my Irish American history. And I get very, very into, that's a good bit of the music nights, is often goes back to Irish music. I've been very involved with it. I remember my grandmother teaching us how to do an Irish jig in the kitchen when we were, 8 or 10 years old. And I've been to Ireland several times, and my parents started an Irish American club that had 3,000 members within the first 2 years. And I served as vice president of that many years later. And so those are my two big things, I guess, of music, mostly 60s folk, but a lot of 70s popular, 70s, 80s, and Irish.
Well, I am just picturing you doing an Irish jig. I want to see that in Schaumburg this year.
As I said, it was when I was 8 years old.
Well, Terry, welcome to the ACB Board of Directors. Thank you so much for your volunteering of your time, talent, and treasure to the American Council of the Blind. We really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate everyone's support as well. And thank you, Dan.
A logo, ACB in print and braille, American Council of the Blind, together for a bright future.